Lane Myers capitulates, takes plea deal. Speculation rampant that he may get time served and be out of jail by mid-July? What happened to the defiant freedom fighter who was going to beat all his charges? Kevin, the angry vet Soper, holds the world's smallest mukbang. Whines about world while eating a Big Mac. Plus, Chille DeCastro uses ChatGPT to file an amended complaint when he doesn't have to? Then purposely avoids LA riots to show that Donald Trump is wrong. I'm your humble newsreader, Pants. You're a swinging, soot-covered chimney sweep in search of new purpose in life. We're supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is really quite atrocious. If we say it loud enough, we'll get you out those clothes. Diddle-diddle-diddle-yum-diddle-I. Hold my hand, and my magic umbrella will take us to new experiences in auditing insanity. Jailed YouTuber Lane Myers surprised friend, follower, foe, and fool on Monday as he accepted a surprise plea deal at a hearing aired on the Pima County website to no restreamers or in-person witnesses. Details came late Monday afternoon on Mark the Reluctant Prophet Kelly's YouTube channel that Myers took a plea deal in the form of a poll Kelly put up on his YouTube community page. Offering no details, Kelly's announcement was followed by frantic research from everyone who had apparently missed the hearing. The hearing was listed in Myers's file over on Arizona's e-Access site, along with a new listing for a July 1st sentencing date. In our case, since we were late in making the search on publichearings.sc.pima.gov page reflected Tuesday's hearings and listed a phantom hearing for Myers based on a previous non-canceled hearing for his initial hearing to disqualify Judge D. Douglas Metcalf from hearing the case. A call over to the courthouse by Judy, our intrepid reporter in the area, confirmed the phantom listing and confirmed the next hearing was on July 1st. No one could confirm or comment on Myers's plea deal. None of Myers's usual supporters, including Josh This Is a Public Service Gray, had coverage of the hearing nor any real idea of what was going on, other than Kelly, who put up a second poll stating that Myers took a plea deal and pled to 2 felonies. No further details were provided. Once the plea deal minute notes were released late in the afternoon on Tuesday, it was revealed that Myers essentially took the same deal as he had rejected less than a month ago, and presumably would be facing the same sort of sentencing. Myers pled guilty to stalking, distress, and fear, which is a Class 5 felony, and 1 count of aggravated harassment, a Class 6 felony. The Class 6 charge brings a presumed year in prison or 2 years as an aggravated charge. The Class 5 charge brings a presumed 2 years in prison with 2.5 years for an aggravated charge. Prosecutor Rachel Stiles had already announced that Myers' prior felony convictions would be considered in sentencing, and a robust probation monitoring system must be in place before Myers is released from jail. According to the minute notes, both the July 14th pre-sentence hearing and July 22nd trial have been vacated. Myers will not go free during the period that he awaits sentencing. There was apparently an extended debate about release conditions, and Myers' associate attorney Mark "the Shark" Resnick unsuccessfully argued modifications to Myers' release conditions. Myers inquired about doing interviews from jail, and it was ordered that Myers was still under an order preventing him from saying the victim's name or engaging in any conduct directed at the victim. In recent interviews with both Michael Eline and Liberty Troll, Myers ignored the previous order, going so far as naming the victim on Liberty Troll's interview and challenging prosecutor Stiles to do something about it. It is unclear what sentence Myers will ultimately receive in exchange for his plea deal. The victim previously testified that she would not be comfortable with Myers' release until robust probation monitoring was in place. His previously rejected plea deal would have been for approximately 4.5 years in jail, with probation eligible for both charges. Prosecutor Stiles did indicate that both charges would be considered aggravated and that his past felony convictions would be considered in his ultimate sentence. The prevailing opinion among early commentators seems to indicate a strong belief that Myers will get credit for time served and get a large suspended sentence. Probation would be immediately available, and Myers would be free by mid-July at the latest. However, as this is Lane Myers, it may be best to wait and see what happens next in the case. With 20 days to go until his next hearing, anything can happen. Myers' next court appearance is on July 1st, 2025. Our court reporter Judy will be attending the hearing live. Kevin the Angry Vet Soper returned to live streaming Tuesday night as he enjoyed the world's smallest mukbang with fellow Maryland YouTuber, Baltimore County Observer, at a McDonald's in Loch Raven Village in Parkville, Maryland. The village is in the northeast section of Baltimore, and Soper said that he and BCO had just been chased by Veterans Administration police after they were caught smoking outside of the Loch Raven Veterans Administration Medical Center. Soper described a strange chase, where he was simultaneously being chased by and chasing the VA police, which culminated in Soper getting out of his vehicle and giving the police a good tongue lashing. The Navy and Coast Guard veteran then took out his aggression on a Big Mac value meal at the McDonald's at the start of the so-called Muckbang. BCO, who made it clear that he was, in fact, an auditor and not that random guy in the background, had a similar meal, and the two proceeded to insult other auditors and entities for the next hour or so. Soper started by calling out a business named Baltimore Towing. He explained that they had the towing contract for the Baltimore Police Department, and the fence they built around their towing yard was built halfway into the public roadway. He promised a video would be coming and laughed as he remembered that he almost laid out an old drunk cancer patient in the incident. Next up, Soper complained that he was forced to show his identification at the Veterans Administration outpatient clinic earlier in the day when he was seeking mental health treatment. He said he found it funny that his ID was required in the main lobby, but no one else asked for it in other areas of the facility. Soper also claimed that a VA police officer told him that the no-smoking rule was from a Clinton-era edict, but Soper countered that it only applied to the inside of VA facilities, not a blanket ban on the property like the police he reportedly encountered earlier had stated. He finished up his complaint about the VA system by stating that while he is still banned from filming inside a Baltimore area facility, more and more VA police were letting veterans record in all parts of their buildings, recognizing the change made by the angry vet and others. Soper also bragged that everyone was now trying to form 501c3 organizations now that his SCARS organization was fully formed. He mentioned that the organization may be opening a brick-and-mortar operation in the near future, but had no specifics of what they'd be doing at that location. He then aimed his insults at both Jose Chille DeCastro and the auditor known as the First Amendment Protection Agency. Soper said that he had heard that DeCastro was involved in unspecified underhanded practices and didn't want to be involved in them. He said he was more focused on what he was doing and that he'd be filing one of 7 new lawsuits by the end of the week. As for Fappa, he disparaged the young YouTuber and mocked Fappa's muscle pose by flexing his own biceps for the camera. This wasn't the last time Soper would show off his body during the Muckbang stream, as he would later lift up his shirt and touch his nipples in an apparently random act of body showcasing. Soper also disparaged those who spoke out against taking plea deals. He said that as long as the plea deal didn't interfere with a future lawsuit against police, there was no harm in taking them. He also said that auditors needed to stop celebrating minor charges like disorderly conduct and trespassing, because those victories weren't changing the world. The mukbang ended with a tally of a Big Mac value meal with orange soda, a cheeseburger, and an order of chicken nuggets, some shared with BCO, before Soper tapped out. He complained about eating so much and that he'd feel terrible later. His complete lack of effort in his mukbang brought criticism to Soper, as mukbang streams are infamous for the large amounts of food participants normally eat. Soper's fairly tame intake of a Big Mac, fries, and cheeseburger, and chicken nuggets did not meet the standards set by others, and fans were ultimately not happy with his efforts. Soper's live stream did nothing to promote his ongoing GoFundMe for his SCARS organization. That campaign drew no money for the day, along with most of the market, with the day ending in a surprise tie for the top of the leaderboard. Christopher Ruff's Defend Direct D Fund and the Chille DeCastro Run campaign for Craig Hendry both took in $5 in donations for the day to earn the win. This is A developing news story. Tuesday was a weird day for Jose Chille DeCastro as he filed an unnecessary emergency motion in his lawsuit against prominent YouTubers. And he ended up walking the streets of Los Angeles, apparently purposely avoiding the ongoing LA riots, to show that President Donald J. Trump was wrong in sending Marines to the area. Trump made headlines for attempting to take control of California's National Guard units over the weekend, and for sending 700 Marine Corps troops to California from other parts of the country. The president apparently intended for the troops to quash the riots in LA, with DeCastro's new stance being that the troops were unnecessary, as there were no riots. None. There was nothing at all going on in the city, and the troops could go home. DeCastro's announcement came after 2 days of live coverage of the riots by the YouTuber. Sunday night, he was poked by a police officer, hit in the head with a thrown water bottle, and shot in the chest by a rubber bullet. Monday night, he wobbled into national news feeds as he wandered the streets of Monday's protests, getting national exposure for his general cluelessness at the scene. Wearing an oversized hoodie with the word press written on it in large yellow block letters, DeCastro's Tuesday night stream set out to show that there was nothing out of the ordinary happening in Los Angeles, despite an increased police presence. DeCastro said that he had to drive for 35 minutes to find the area of the city where the protests were happening. Once on scene, DeCastro seemed to deliberately walk away from areas with active protesters. Even after police literally pointed him to the proper areas to find protests, DeCastro continued with his narrative that Trump was wrong and that he was right and nothing was going on in the city. While other newscasts and reporters managed to find protesters blocking the highway and presence of the Marines in the city, DeCastro's live stream did not. He ambled around in what seemed to be a rectangle, taking him towards protesters, but cutting back to areas further away from any action. On his journey, he stopped multiple times to chat with police officers, offering them compliments and wishing them a good day. The only negative encounter he had with police came when he touched an officer, and the officer reacted negatively to the touch. DeCastro quickly left the group of police officers and went into an extended rant that police will never allow an outsider to participate in their gatherings. DeCastro made the long walk out of the area as he plugged his 5A cop cards. No mention was made of his constitutional headquarters board game, which remains in limbo with no observed sales listed on his DeleteLaws.com website since raising the price of the game. DeCastro would end his stream by stating that he needed to urinate and that he would be back in an hour with another broadcast. DeCastro would not live stream again Tuesday night, and the end of the stream would have had him home in time to avoid trouble with the citywide curfew, which began at 8 p.m. local time. The YouTuber's day also got worse when his emergency motion to change his lawsuit against Kate Peter, Josh Abrams, and Dale Lackluster Hiller was widely panned by critics as being unnecessary. DeCastro filed a motion for leave to change his complaint in the lawsuit based on a typo, which made his claimed date of alleged defamatory statements made against him fall outside of the 3-year statute of limitations. He now claimed that the June 1st date should have been June 10th, and he included an order for the judge in the lawsuit to sign off on allowing the change. Critics of DeCastro noted that since the lawsuit had not even been served to anyone, and it wasn't 21 days past service, DeCastro had the ability to amend his complaint a single time to make updates such as the one he was proposing without the need for a judicial order. The emergency motion was dramatic and brought attention to his lawsuit after support for and interest in the suit had begun to wane. However, the overall negative backlash to ChatGPT being unable to warn DeCastro that he could just file his amended complaint brought further humiliation to the diminutive YouTuber from critics. DeCastro is expected to livestream again on Wednesday. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.